When we picture ancient civilizations, we tend to imagine sprawling empires, rigid borders guarded by stone walls, and absolute monarchs dictating from a distant capital. The traditional map of history treats political power as a simple equation. Authority is defined by how much physical geography a ruler can conquer and hold. The early Vedic age operated on a different logic. Here, borders were fluid, shifting alongside the movements of the people, rather than being carved permanently into the landscape. For these communities, identity wasn't tied to a specific patch of dirt. A person's loyalty belonged to the people standing next to them, to their shared lineage and immediate community. Usually, social order requires the machinery of a central state, tax collectors, standing armies, and absolute laws. Yet these tribes maintained a stable, organized society without any of those tools. To understand ancient Indian political structure, we have to look past the top-down map of geographic territories and examine the bottom-up network of human relationships. The physical landscape of the early Vedic period was agrarian and intimate, defined by cultivated fields and hearths rather than monumental architecture. The entire structure of their governance began with a single localized unit, the Kula, or the individual extended family. Because everyone within the Kula shared a common ancestry, their daily cooperation relied on deeply ingrained kinship ties rather than laws enforced by external guards. In later centuries, larger Indian kingdoms would coerce their subjects into obedience through the threat of state violence. In this early era, loyalty was a byproduct of family bonds. Kinship served as the ultimate legal framework. Bloodlines and shared tradition provided the stability that a formal state apparatus usually handles. Isolated families eventually grow, and as they interact with their neighbors, they require a framework to manage those expanding relationships. This diagram illustrates how expansion worked. Several individual families would group together to form a cooperative village known as a Grama. As population increased, multiple villages merged interests and resources, forming a larger regional clan called a Vish. Finally, this web of relationships would scale up once more, with multiple clans uniting into the Jana, the massive interconnected tribe. The Jana represents the absolute political ceiling of the era. The structural limit of their governance stops right here. Notably absent from this integrated network is a permanent bureaucratic capital or an administrative center dictating orders. All of this complexity emerged through the natural replication of communities, bypassing the need for military conquest or the forced annexation of land. The Jana achieved a sophisticated macro-level scale purely by building upon modular, replicating family units. At the top of the Jana stood a singular leader, the tribal chief, known as the Raja. The title Raja often conjures expectations of wealthy monarchs ruling from a throne. The early Vedic reality was strictly practical. The Raja's responsibilities focused on the immediate welfare of the tribe. He led warriors in battle, settled local disputes, and maintained internal order. He was a leader who relied on consensus. While the position often passed within a particular family, his authority was tied to the ongoing approval of his community. If a tribe is spread across countless villages and clans, the community needs a logistical way to hold their chief accountable to the group. This diagram represents that accountability, with the Raja's authority balanced by two primary assemblies: the Sabha, a council of respected elders, and the Samiti, a broader gathering of the tribe. These councils were active participants in governance. They debated public affairs, weighed in on resources, and directly guided the tribe's policies. If a Raja attempted to act against the tribe's interests, these assemblies possessed the authority to block his decisions. The existence of these assemblies meant that tribal order relied on constant negotiation, ensuring the Raja remained a leader among peers rather than a master of subjects. This system relied on cooperation and mutual reliance rather than top-down control. The framework established by the Jana provided the bedrock for the political organizations that followed in ancient India. Once a society masters the practical demands of organizing the physical world, its people naturally begin to turn their attention toward the mysteries of the unseen. In our next exploration, we will step beyond the village assemblies and into the realm of ancient rituals, early gods, and the spiritual world of the early Vedic people.